Well, hello there. Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. Hey, on today's episode, we are going to just do a real quick review on why we do what we do and who we are doing what we do.
Let you know a little bit about Pastor Mike.
Yeah, and a little bit about Dr. Parker today.
On Just These Guys, you know?
It is still amazing to me that we have been able to start this and continue it for, almost 140 some episodes now?
Boom.
I'm telling you right now, as someone who is focused on the positive,
Yeah, okay.
I didn't think we'd make it past 10 episodes. No, I said I didn't think I could. And what an experience this has been. And it's really been cool to watch people continue to find it and listen. And we get, some people that'll give us a little bit of a review from time to time.
And for all you new listeners, ignore episodes 1 through 40.
Please. Please just do that.
I've thought about taking them down. But, it'll impact our numbers.
Sure. But then how could they know that this is actually improved, in our humble opinion?
Well, go back and listen to one and then see the difference. I remember in between episodes, you told me that the greatest thing is when you come in here and say absolutely nothing.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I used to love that.
And then here we got the last 3 episodes has been you.
Yeah. Well, don't get used to it.
Wisdom.
Don't get used to it. Your wisdom is far too valuable to sit silent over there.
Let me ask you a question.
Yep, go ahead.
2.5 years ago,
mm-hmm.
and multiple times before that,
yeah,
you came to me and said, let's do a podcast. What were you thinking?
Well, so our initial connection was from you coming to our church. And then we kind of made a connection over the guitar,
mm-hmm.
where I actually played the guitar back then, and you wanted to kind of learn how to play the guitar.
Right.
And so when we would get together, we would just kind of just pick along in the guitar for, it seemed like maybe 15, 20 minutes, but then we would spend an hour just talking.
Yeah. And
I don't know if you realized it. I'm sure you did. I was taking advantage of you. I was like, I'll put up with his crappy guitar playing if I can have a conversation with a therapist and not actually have to pay.
It was a barter system.
Yes, it was a barter system that you might not have been aware of, but maybe you were. I don't know. But our conversations were they were just valuable enough that I thought to myself, if people could hear some of the things that you were saying, it's got to help. And so the thought just kind of came to me, maybe someday we could do a podcast. And if it were up to me, I would still be saying to you, someday we ought to do a podcast. Because I'm more the guy who has these ideas.
Yeah.
Now, implementing them is a different skill set altogether. And you are the aim, shoot, aim, go, whatever that is.
Ready.
You
shoot.
Yep.
Aim.
Yes, there you go. And so it's like you've heard me say it a couple of times, and you thought, okay, well, I'm just going to go buy all the equipment. I'm going to start to learn how to do this. And then I'm going to say, okay, we're doing this podcast. And I was like, oh, okay.
And if I recall correctly, from the time I said yes
mm-hmm.
until the time we started the podcast, it was a week.
Yeah, it was fast, which is really smart. I can't have too much time to think about it. But so 2.5 years ago, and here we are, 140 some, right? Episodes in.
Sure.
And just excited that, we're not doing this just for our health, just for our mental health. we're excited that people are still finding it again. People are finding it to be something that they can get something out of each episode. And that's the goal.
And even though it doesn't, maybe on the outside it looks like there's a lot of organization here, and we got producers and directors and videographers and sound control people. It's just you and me. Mm-hmm. But that's kind of the point, I think, that what I wanted to bring to the podcast, the public, was even though you're the lead pastor at a church, Grace Point Church, Wichita, Kansas, 9035
9035 West Central.
Mm-hmm. Services at 9 a.m. and 10:30 a.m. Tuesday nights, Bibles and barbecue at 6 p.m. Come feed and then enjoy a nice little Bible study going through Acts right now.
Yep.
Great. I've been there a couple of times. Recently my schedule has changed so I could do that. Mm-hmm. But you're just a guy.
Yep.
People look at you as the pastor, and then they put on you all of these assumptions and personas and ideas and stereotypes, and that's how they interact with you. But the reality is you're just a guy, and you've talked about how when you go out in the public, you intentionally dress like not a pastor, and you won't lead the conversation open with, I'm a pastor.
Sure.
You'll just start talking with somebody and make a connection and have a relationship being built. And then when they learn you're a pastor, they tend to freak out a little bit. They're like, oh my God, I would never have guessed. I wouldn't know. Start
rewinding in their head all the things that they've said. Start apologizing for all the cuss words. And I'm like, I didn't even notice.
But that, I think that makes you more human, more approachable, give more power to what you say than somebody who leads with, I'm a pastor and I've been to divinity school and I've done this for 20 years, so I know. And that's when people start to shut down and tune out. Mm-hmm. To meet somebody who is just like them and actually living and walking like Christ. Everything I've read in the Bible, he didn't walk into a room and say, okay, everybody, I'm the Son of God, so sit down and shut up.
Yep. No.
He reached out with his hand. He connected with them. He talked with them, and they would figure out along the way. They would see it. They would feel it.
Yep.
And they would call him the Son of God. Who do you say I am?
Yeah.
So I've always been impressed by that. And kind of the same thing happens with me as people think I'm a mechanic or something until, what do you do? I'm like, well, I'm a psychologist. And they're like, oh my God, I thought you were a mechanic.
You don't look like a mechanic today.
No, I don't. But we're just a couple of guys, even though we have these roles that we play.
Yeah.
We're no different than anybody else. We put our pants on one leg at a time, right?
Sometimes I shoot for two.
If you're in a hurry.
Yeah.
Lay down on the bed, hit them both.
Yep.
Jump up. But that's kind of where the show came about, was just this idea that you and I, our conversations that we're having, we were feeding each other. And if somebody could listen in to those conversations, then they may derive benefit about the subject matter or whatever it was we're talking about.
Yeah. Well, and then you also happen to write about that time frame, be writing a book.
Yeah.
That it made a whole lot of sense for us to be able to come up and have a platform like this that supported not only that book, but the whole idea that everything that we do, everything that we are, starts with how we think.
Yes.
Starts with the health that we have in our minds. And so once we were able to kind of have that as a bit of a focus, I think that's really where it started to kind of shift from being a podcast early on, that we were just trying to figure out what the heck we were doing and how to do it and all this and that. And we had some things on there that are not necessarily regrettable, but we might do it a little different. But it's really grown, and I think continues to grow into something that people are being benefited. It's not a waste of time.
Well, and that's really where the Nexus kind of started to connect for us. Is everything is rooted in the mind.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is rooted in the mind. And Proverbs says, "As a man thinketh,
Yep.
so is he." And the the book 12:2, How to Transform Your Mind, is a nod and homage to. It's anchored in Romans 12:2. Do not be conformed to the ways of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your minds. And don't think like people in this world think. Learn to think differently.
Mm-hmm.
And when you learn to think differently, spiritually, so much happens. And that's what the scripture tells you. If you're transformed by the renewing of your mind, so you may know his will.
Yeah.
And that's what we're all running around here trying to figure out is, why am I here? What am I to do? How am I to live? What's my purpose? And it's when we lose hope,
Yep.
we've lost purpose, we've lost will, we have no reason to be here. That's when, the wheels really start to come off spiritually and psychologically.
Mm-hmm.
And in psychology, that is the cornerstone of the profession, is how you think leads to what you feel. How you think and what you feel will lead to what you do.
Mm-hmm.
And the key to unlocking all of it is changing how you think.
Mm-hmm.
And so spiritually and psychologically, these two things align perfectly. And it just makes total sense that for a person to have an enriched life, both of these sides of the coin need to be addressed.
Yeah. Transformed with the renewing of our minds. Romans 12:2.
We picked up a whole bunch of new listeners here in the last week, and one of the people asked me just yesterday, almost quietly, do you address the Bible and spiritual issues when you do therapy? And it is laughable to me because of what I just said, that these two go hand in hand. I don't know how somebody does one without the other.
Yeah.
Anymore. I can't separate those two hardly.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always a challenge for me to not be a preacher, but to put that on the table for people to recognize and to connect with. But, to really try to stay on the psychology side of all of this without, pulling in the spiritual side of it's a challenge for me because the two are so interwoven in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
But that was the question that they've run into everywhere they've gone, is people, mental health professionals, separate those two issues 100%. And I think they were wanting the two brought together.
Well, Romans 12:2 also says that do not be conformed to the patterns of this world. And the reality is that the only way to do that, to not be conformed by the patterns of this world, is to be unworldly in our minds, and that is to focus on God.
Right.
We're either going to be focused on the world or we can focus on God. Hebrews 12:2.
Boom.
There's another really cool 12:2. Hebrews 12:2 says, focus on God, the author and perfecter of our faith. And so the reality is that we can either focus on God or we can focus on the world. We can focus on God or we can focus on the storms. We can focus on God or we can focus on the problems. We can focus on God or we can focus on the evil that is out there. And listen, we can get plenty of that through all the social media. We can get plenty of that from the news. We can get all of that we could possibly choke down. And it's not going to lead you to a good place. Nothing good is going to come from that. But you spend some time focused on God, in the Word, spend some time around people who are also focused on God, in community, spend time in prayer, spend time in some of these spiritual, feeding our souls. I talk about all the time how we are really good at feeding our physical because it's right there and we get hungry. But there are so many of us that are the hunger pains in our souls are deafening. but we forget to feed our souls. We forget to feed our spirits. And so once you start to do that, things change.
And it's amazing that people don't get that. Like a military person, a veteran, the way they do things, and they will talk about, the Navy way. This is the Navy way. And when they're making a decision about how to approach something, they fall back on what they've been trained, what they've studied, what they've practiced. So in any situation, got a new job, going to work, how do I dress? Well, there's a Navy way. And so they fall back on how they dress to go to work. I was at a Casting Crowns concert, and the lead singer was talking in between sets, and he said, "You can't quote a scripture you ain't read." And the audience was silent for a minute, and then there was big applause. But what he's talking about is if you don't study the word, then in a moment when there's a decision to be made, you don't have that to fall back on.
Yep.
What would Jesus do in this moment of the options in front of me? What would be better? And if you haven't spent the time in the word somehow, whether it's actually reading the Bible, studying the Bible, listening to a podcast about the Bible, watching a video about the Bible, if you don't have those words in your mind in those moments where you have to make a decision, you can't draw on the word.
I bought a brand new skill saw. Brand new. I was going to use it on a siding job that I got. And that thing has done me no good whatsoever because I never took it out of the box. It's the same thing with a Bible that's laying there collecting dust on the cover if you never open it.
Right.
So open it up.
I got me a Bible.
And begin to benefit from this amazing tool that God has given to us to be able to know Him. And you also can't make anything known that you don't know yourself. So the reality is it's all there for us.
Well, and as we begin to wrap up here today, there are 2 books that this podcast is based on. One is the Bible. And you'll hear Mike quote scripture quite a bit. So if you hear him throw something down, pick up the book, look up what he said, read about 5 paragraphs before the quote.
Get you some context.
Get the context of what's being said. And the other book that this is based on is the 12-2, How to Transform Your Mind. The 4 fundamentals. What do you control? What do you not control? Shoulds, laws, demands versus preferences, desires, wants, worry versus concerns versus dreaming, and negative versus positive thinking. And those 4 kind of thought processes and how to change those thought processes are the foundation of how we approach all of the things we talk about here on the podcast. So the book 12-2 and the Bible, if you ever wonder where we got something, that's where we got it.
Yep, for sure. Well, thank you everybody for letting us just do a quick little review this week. Share this, like this, share this, and invite others to join in. We got some good stuff coming up.
Yes, we do.
I am excited about the next several weeks and months to come. There's a lot of folks that are excited with us, and I'm excited that they're excited, that everybody's excited.
And thank you for the studio audience for coming in this morning.
Every Tuesday morning.
Give yourself a round of applause.
That's for you, Terry. Have an awesome week.
We'll see you guys next week.